guys, so I'm doing a video response today to JLove47's video, and the video was called Women Want Too Much, and I just had to do a video response to this. Reason being is because a lot of things that you stated in your video are things that you should want for yourself regardless whether or not you're with someone or not. But first off, you said that women want too much because they want a man who's attractive. Why would you want somebody who isn't attractive? And attractiveness is very subjective because it depends on that person's views and opinions. One person may find somebody attractive and then somebody else look at the same person and be like, he's not attractive. So that's really a subjective statement in and of itself. Then you said money. Now, this is my personal opinion and I could be wrong, and other people who are viewing, feel free to, chime in and leave your comment below and tell me what you think about this though. But the men that I've encountered, or some men that I've encountered, when they don't have their own, or they don't have their own money or their own car or whatever, they feel insecure, and that insecurity shows. They feel unhappy with themselves, and if you're unhappy with yourself, then you have no business getting into a relationship because you're going to be unhappy, and that unhappiness is going to affect your relationship. So that's just my personal opinion on that. And I mean, so what? My question then is, should women say, oh, well, I want to find a guy who's broke or whatever? To me, it has nothing really to do about him doing anything for me, but more so about how he's going to feel about himself and how his lack of self-esteem is going to affect our relationship. Next, you said responsible and ambitious. You should want to be responsible and ambitious regardless of whether or not you're with somebody or not. You should always want to do your best. You should always want to make sure that you're on top of your game. You're doing what you want to do or need to do. You should always want to be a go-getter. I don't understand who would want to be, who will not want to be ambitious, who would want to be lazy. And going back to the one you listed before that, if a guy doesn't have any money, he needs to be ambitious. He really needs to be ambitious because he couldn't possibly be comfortable with where he's at, because he needs to be ambitious so he can try to further himself, better himself, regardless of whether he has somebody on his arm or not. And this goes for man or woman. You should always want to be ambitious. You should always want to be a responsible adult. So then you said a good job. Same thing goes back into the money thing. If a guy doesn't have his own, if a guy doesn't have, isn't happy himself, what he has going on, then he's not gonna be happy, and that's gonna affect the relationship. No kids. I don't think it's wrong to not want a guy with kids. I know that I can't. I mean, I would never say never. Now, I always say never say never, but I personally don't like to date men with children. I don't have children, so I don't really want a man who has children. I don't see anything wrong with that. Now, if you're a woman who has children and you don't want a man who has children, I can't say that that's wrong, because that's a personal preference. And if you as a man think that that's unfair for her to want that, then don't be with her. It's really plain and simple. If you feel uncomfortable with somebody else's expectations, or you feel you don't meet their expectations, then don't be with them. And furthermore, if you don't meet their expectations, they're probably not even going to be looking your way in the first place. Education. I'll say this: there are people that I've met who have never been to college that are extremely intelligent people. So that's another thing that's really subjective, but at the same time, education is a very wonderful thing to have, and more people do good with education than without it. Not to say that you have to have education to be successful in life, but it doesn't hurt, and in a lot of ways it can make things easier. But also, men who don't have education, a lot of times they don't have any conversation. They don't have anything to offer to the conversation. So that can be a problem. But then again, if that's the issue, if you have an issue with a woman who, you know, is highly intellectual, then find somebody who's not. Find somebody who is like yourself, so you can be equally yoked. And I'm not talking about you in particular. I'm just, when I say you, I'm just talking about just using it in the general sense. But then you said no criminal record. Why would somebody want somebody with a criminal record? Why do you have a criminal record? Would be more of my thought. Why should you have a criminal record to begin with? What were you doing? And that's gonna say a lot about this. Why would you have a criminal record? I don't understand. Like, why would a woman want somebody with a criminal record? And I would say, why do you have one? What are you doing? And that's just a whole. I don't. And then you're like, well, why should a man? You know, why should a man be all these things and bring all these things to the table and everything like that? And what are you doing for me is basically what you said. And to me, both people should bring their best into a relationship. But if one person is slacking off, or if the other person feels that the other person is slacking off, they're not going to bring their best to the table either. So everybody's gonna feel like, oh, well, you ain't doing this, so I ain't gonna do this. And that's not how a relationship should work. Not a healthy relationship, not a long-lasting relationship. And my whole thing is this: if people are unhappy with themselves, they need to fix that before they get into a relationship. If you have, I mean, if you're running from the law, when do you have time to start up a relationship, a long-term relationship anyway? I mean, just certain things just don't make sense to me, I suppose. I think that you should want somebody who is doing good for themselves. You shouldn't want nobody who ain't doing shit for themselves, because at the end of the day, if you meet somebody and they not doing nothing for themselves then, and they're not ambitious, and a lot of times everybody is not rich. Only 2% of the American population are millionaires. So there are a lot of people out there who aren't rich. But if you're ambitious and you want to get there, that says a lot about you and your character. Because everybody's not rich, and there are plenty of women, like you said, who are out there messing with dudes that just aren't. And then, like you said, they end up on Maury. And you know what? Had maybe those women they had expectations or higher standards for who they were gonna date, maybe they wouldn't be on Maury. But then again, if they're on Maury, then obviously there's something wrong with them as well. So that's a whole different story. But that's just my video response. This is what I wanted to say. So thank you guys for watching, as always, and goodbye.